Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. I thought I would sit down and do a video for you guys and gals, give you a little bit of a history lesson. Let me give you a forearm shot first. Forearms are on point. Let's talk about this. I want to do a couple videos on this over the next few months because this is a topic I used to cover in the past, and it's such a fun little history fact that all lifters should know. And what I'm seeing a younger generation of lifters coming in. I mean, I'm even getting clients who are applying, have been watching me a little while. They're like 20 years old and stuff. So these are guys, they don't know the full history of the lifting world, the guys and gals both. And I think it would be just fun to remind people of this stuff. So when we talk about this whole idea of progressive overload or progressive workload for gaining muscle and gaining strength, this is an ancient idea that was documented as far back as 3,000 years ago, okay? This is an old idea. So when you think of these ancient Greeks, you think of Aristotle, Socrates, these people, because they oftentimes had an interest in fitness. They knew about progressive overload. They wrote about it. And again, this is where the Olympic Games come from, right? You go back to ancient Greece, this is the origin of the Olympic Games that we have around the world. So, I mean, what they figured out back then about sports and sports performance is really culturally and historically relevant. You know, at least as far as this part of the world, obviously there could be very different histories going back into the Far East and other places that maybe I and a lot of lifters are not aware of. And I'd like to see if there's stuff out there that maybe we aren't aware of, but this is the stuff that we do know. So as far as the records that most of us have access to, this was talked about in ancient Greece. And the first account of this goes back to the story of Milo of Croton, or for many of you may have heard of Milo and the Bull. So here's how it goes. This is what was documented in the story and the legend. And this is supposed to be documented history, you know, and when you think about it, it's not unbelievable. Like modern experts have looked at it even in sports science and looked at it and said, actually, it's possible that this very much is very possibly a true story. That it's biologically possible when you go back and you look at the size of bulls back then. So here's how it goes. Milo was known at the time, at least in the known world to the ancient Greeks, as basically the strongest man in the world, or at the very least the strongest man known of in Greece. He was a famous wrestler and strong man who was known for his feats of strength. And his feat of strength was that he could, one of the ones that he did was that he could lift a bull. He could lift a bull. Now, a lot of people say, okay, come on, this is silly. But it's not. So Milo got this idea in his head, this idea of small progressive overload. And he thought, you know, if I get a bull calf, I bet you if I lift it every single day and the weight goes up really slowly, that I will get strong in proportion to how much weight this bull gains. And I will, when it's grown, I'll be able to lift the whole bull. So he set out on this task. And so what Milo did, he got a little baby bull calf. And he started putting it on his shoulders, right? Putting it on his shoulders, walking around with it. Now, for anyone who says the poor bull, no, the bull was used to it. I mean, it was probably well cared for. The bull was pretty tame at this point because it was used to a human picking it up and carrying it around every day. This was normal for it. It was its everyday life. And then it probably got fed and everything else, so it was cool. But he used to walk around with the bull on his shoulders and walk around through town with this little baby bull on his shoulders. You know, which again, he was a big, strong wrestler and famous as an athlete. So this was probably quite a spectacle. As you can imagine, you know, not every day you see someone walking around with a bull calf across their shoulders or a bull that's getting bigger. So what he did this every single day. He got up, squatted the bull up, got under the bull, squatted it up, walked around with it across his shoulders in the town, and you know, for sometimes reasonable distances, like we would think of today as a yoke walk, right, in a strongman event. So he did this all the time, and he did this for a couple of years. And as you can imagine, the bull got bigger and bigger and bigger because it was a baby, and so it's going to grow. And eventually, because he had done it every day and he had built his strength up progressively, what do you think happened? he was able to get under the bull and lift the whole bull. Now you'll sometimes see potteries or images of him overhead pressing it. We don't think that's the case, but he got under the bull and would lift it up, and he could walk with it at least a little distance once it was fully grown, because he had done this for longer distances when it was younger, and just as it gained weight, he got bigger and stronger underneath the weight of this bull. To where, again, because it was such a small amount, we would assume it was less than a pound a day, because it took this bull a couple years to grow. And realistically speaking, people have noted bulls of that era in that part of the world, they're not the selectively bred bulls that we have today. Okay, it's not what you're thinking of. So it's not like a 2,000 pound Charolais bull or something. We've selectively bred bulls to be much bigger in the modern world. They were only 400, maybe at most 500 pounds. Well, it's not unreasonable that one of the strongest men in the world, strongest man in Greece at the time, could do a yoke walk with 500 pounds. People do it with more than that today. I've seen guys do 900,000 pounds personally that I've witnessed. So is it unreasonable? No, it's not. But it also proved the point of progressive overload. So there you have Milo, and he became a legend because he did this, and everyone witnessed him, and all these people, I guess thousands of people over time, witnessed him carrying the bull around on his shoulders, a fully grown bull. He became a legend that was written about through history and has been even in artwork and everything for thousands of years. He really, it made him famous. He is a legend still today because of this. But more importantly, let's set aside the feat of strength and the spectacle that it probably was, because I imagine that was quite a thing for people to behold, especially in a world where most people aren't strength training, and you don't have Olympics and Olympic lifting and strongman and powerlifting for you to see on TV or on the internet. To see a man carrying around a fully grown bull was probably quite the scene. But it made him the father of progressive overload, because he documented as a famous athlete and wrestler at the time that progressive overload works. And because in the modern world we have studied these things, and we've studied progressive overload in larger populations and in the lab and in athletes and everything else, that when historians look back at it and experts look at it, they go, it actually probably is true, because it would have worked. So many of these ideas that we have today about progressive overload go all the way back to Milo carrying around this bull for a couple of years as it got bigger on his back. And that is the documentation, the first documented account of progressive overload at work as an experiment. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.